The house was unusually quiet that evening. Jack's mom had left early in the morning for a business trip, leaving him and his stepdad, Mark, alone for the weekend. Jack had been waiting for this opportunity for weeks, his mind racing with possibilities. Mark was lounging in the living room, his broad, muscular frame stretched out on the couch, a beer in hand. He looked as relaxed as ever, his tank top clinging to his chest and his biceps flexing with each casual movement. Jack's heart raced every time he glanced over, his stepdad's effortless masculinity pulling him in like a magnet. "Want another beer, Mark?" Jack offered, trying to sound casual. Mark smirked and raised his bottle. "Sure thing, kid. You trying to get me drunk?" Jack laughed nervously, grabbing another bottle from the fridge and handing it to him. "Just being a good host since mom's not here." As the evening wore on, Jack made sure Mark's glass was never empty, subtly encouraging him to drink more than usual. Mark, already tired from work, didn't seem to notice, or care. By the time they'd finished the second six-pack, Mark's speech was slurred, and his movements were slower. The glow of the television flickered in the dimly lit living room, casting shadows across Mark's chiseled features. Jack sat nearby, nursing his own drink, though his focus was entirely on his stepdad. Mark leaned back into the couch, his tank top riding up slightly to reveal his toned abs, a sight that Jack found impossible to ignore. The empty beer bottles on the coffee table told the story of the evening. Mark was buzzed, his movements loose and unguarded. His deep laughter at the TV show filled the room, and Jack used the sound to steel his courage. "You good, Mark? Need another beer?" Jack asked, his voice steady despite the nervous energy bubbling inside him. Mark waved him off lazily, a smirk tugging at his lips. "Nah, kid. You're trying to get me plastered, aren't you?" Jack grinned, shifting closer on the couch. "Just making sure you're comfortable. You work hard, you deserve to relax." Mark chuckled, his head tipping back against the cushion as his eyes fluttered closed. "Damn right I do. Been a long week." Jack hesitated, the air between them thick with unspoken tension. His heart raced as he slid closer, his hand brushing against Mark's thigh under the guise of adjusting a throw pillow. Mark's eyes opened slightly, his buzzed gaze meeting Jack's. "What are you doing, kid?" Mark asked, his tone light but curious. Jack smiled, leaning in just enough for the closeness to feel deliberate. "Just taking care of you, Mark. You deserve it." Mark chuckled again, though there was a flicker of something unspoken in his expression. "You're acting weird," he murmured, but he didn't move away. Jack knelt on the floor in front of him, his hands resting on Mark's knees. "You're always looking out for everyone else. Let me look out for you for once." Mark's brows furrowed slightly, but the alcohol had dulled his instincts, leaving him pliable. "What are you talking about?" he asked, his voice quieter now. Jack didn't answer with words. Instead, he slid his hands up Mark's thighs, his touch firm yet cautious. Mark's breath hitched, his body reacting even as his mind struggled to catch up. "Jack," Mark started, but his voice faltered as Jack leaned in, his lips grazing the waistband of Mark's shorts. "Just relax," Jack whispered, his voice low and soothing. "Let me take care of you." Mark let out a shaky breath, his head falling back against the couch. Whether it was the alcohol, the moment, or both, he didn't resist as Jack's lips closed around him. The living room was filled with Mark's guttural moans, each one more desperate than the last. Jack worked with an intensity fueled by months of pent-up desire, his movements precise and eager. Mark's hands gripped the couch cushions, his body tensing as he reached the peak of euphoria. "Jack, oh God!" Mark groaned, his voice breaking as he surrendered completely. In one final shudder, Mark's body relaxed entirely, his breathing slowing. Jack leaned back, wiping his mouth as he looked up at his stepdad. But something was off. "Mark," Jack whispered, his voice trembling as he shook him gently. Mark didn't respond. His head lolled to the side, his face peaceful but unnervingly still. Panic surged through Jack as he realized the truth. Mark had passed, the intensity of the moment too much for his body to handle. Jack sat frozen, the weight of what had just happened crashing down on him. The room, once filled with moans of pleasure, was now oppressively silent.